The Motul FIM Superbike World Championship returns from a 5-week summer break in the month of August for the final third of the 2025 campaign that sees 4 rounds in 7 weeks. You join us for the series' 25th visit to Magny-Cours, located on the banks of the River Loire, some 250 kilometres southeast of capital Paris. The exclusive host of the French round since 1991, the Circuit de Nevers traditionally held an October date on the calendar, with no less than 9 world titles decided here, although it was brought forward to the first weekend in September after the pandemic. Characterised by its stop-start nature, the venue boasts the shortest start-finish straight of the season and 3 first-gear corners, including the famous Adelaide hairpin, 240 metres on the brakes before what's the slowest corner on the track. Heavy braking also into turns 6 and 11, named after former World SBK venues, the Nürburgring and Imola. But the next best opportunity to pass is on the exits of Imola into the tight turn 13, taken at just 60 kilometres per hour. Finally, the run to turn 15, site of Toprak Razgatlioglu's devastating practice crash a year ago, and the start of the Lycée complex that also includes the final chicane. Lap record pace this weekend right from Friday, so Alvaro Bautista's lap record from the 2023 Superpole race might well be beaten here. A third of the 2025 season still remains. In the last third, we visited Most, Misano and Donington, all tracks where Toprak Razgatlioglu was unbeaten last year and made a first trip to heavy braking venue Balaton Park. In that spell, Razgatlioglu has taken the championship lead, but Bulliger has done well to stay in touch. Second place in half of the races this season, including 9 of that last 12. With a 26-point advantage now to his name, if Toprak were to win all 3 races this weekend, then Bulliger would need to win all 9 remaining races to be certain of the title. Bulliger must surely claim at least 1 victory this weekend to give himself a realistic hope of the 2025 crown. Steve English alongside me. The summer break is an opportunity to reset, particularly for Nicolo Bulliger, but he needs a major turnaround in fortunes to take this title race down to the wire.
Ultimately for Bulliger, it's up to him to try and win 8 or 9 races left in the season, and here in Magny-Cours, it is Toprak that's the rider to beat, and Razgatlioglu with that pole position, Bulliger second on the grid. It sets up nicely, but Bulliger's got an uphill task ahead of him.
248 points still up for grabs in 12 races, so there is a fair way to go, but our 2 title contenders have shared 23 of the 24 race victories between them, each missing only 4 podiums, and have broken 148 points clear of the battle for bronze behind. With the season at 2/3 distance, 3 riders, Petrucci, Locatelli and Bautista, are covered by only 16 points for 3rd overall. Sam Lowes appears to have 6th wrapped up, the rest of the pack chasing Xavi Vierque in 7th overall. But no doubt about it, the man with the momentum is Toprak Razgatlioglu, on top since the UK round last month when he completed what has been a remarkable turnaround in 2025. Remember, he was 42 points behind leaving Australia in February after a Bulliger hat-trick on Phillip Island. He missed out Toprak on 2 podiums in Assen on pure pace, then was soundly beaten 3 times in Cremona, where Bulliger was expecting to struggle. 34 points down after 4 rounds. In the next 4 rounds, he's outscored Bulliger by a massive 60 points.
Yeah, and as ever for Toprak, the goal is to win these races. He's not thinking about the championship. He's only thinking about trying to win race 1, make it a hat-trick, and that's the sole focus for him. It's been a weekend where he's focused on his race pace. Yesterday, he did a long run at the start of FP2, didn't try and show his pace for a single lap, and left it instead where he was able to build into this point of the weekend, and he's so difficult to beat because of how they structure the weekends as well.
Yeah, superb performance from him in the Superpole session. First rider into the 1:34s for that pole position, and that's what this man, Nicolo Bulliger, is up against. Bulliger, leader for the first 20 races of this championship, but the way it's going, he's looking set to be the nearly man again. 27 second places in his 60 race starts and only 14 wins. He's down 15-8 to Toprak for race victories this season, and he hasn't won since race 2 in Most. And that performance in Most is the kind he needs this weekend to take points unexpectedly from Razgat Lioglu and set himself up with a chance of recovery in the final 3 rounds.
Yeah, when you look at those numbers, Al, a 1-in-4 win ratio, 1-in-2 for finishing in second spot. You look at it and you see a rider that's been so strong since he came into the class. But like you said, it is that case of being the nearly man because you're up against Toprak. That shows you just how good of a job Toprak has done. But also, Bulaga has been the man that's been able to bring the fight to him.
Yes, nobody will be more grateful for Toprak Razgat Lioglu's departure to MotoGP than Nicolo Bulaga. I suspect that some Christmas cards will be exchanging hands there.
Yeah, it's a strange one because at Ducati, for the likes of Gigi Dall'Igna, he wants to keep Toprak here. He wants to see where his bike fares up against the best rider in the championship. But for Bulaga, you can certainly understand where over the winter he'll be glad where he'll be the favourite going into next year. But he's got a championship to try and win this year as well, and he's trying to do what he can to keep the pressure on Toprak, and we'll see what he can do on the start of this race.
All eyes on Jonathan Rea this weekend after he announced his retirement last week. He'll be ending an 18-year career that's made him the all-time appearance record holder, the greatest of all time for championships, wins and podiums, and just 12 races now remaining for Rea as a full-time rider. And I do hope that he can pull off at least one more moment of magic between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, and even for Rea, whenever you look at it, qualifies on the 5th row for this one in 13th spot. Actually, one of the solid qualifying efforts we've seen from him this season, and it's just close around here to try and make your moves up through the field. A quarter of a second puts him up onto the 3rd row of the grid, and you feel really good about his chances of being able to fight it out for a race.
Another head-to-head between Razgat Lioglu and Bulaga in Superpole this morning. Bulaga with first blood in the opening stint before Toprak Razgat Lioglu set a new lap record. First rider into the 1 minute 34s and beating Bulaga by a 0.2 of a second margin. 5 Ducatis in the top 7. Sam Lowe's completing the front row of the grid, and Alex Lowe's putting the Bimota up into P4. Axel Bassani, his teammate, P10. Bout session for Alvaro Bautista, who really has had some terrible Superpole results here down the years. Didn't set a time in the first stint, then could only make it onto the 5th row of the grid in P14. 2 riders crashed out of the session. Garrett Gerloff and Andrea Locatelli will have to start from the back of the grid here. And that's a real shame for Gerloff, who usually goes well at this venue, and it'll likely be costly for Locatelli in pursuit of this year's bronze medal.
Yeah, and just to go back to Bautista as well, it's the worst qualifying performance of the season for him. He's had some tough times in Superpoles over the last few years. This year, a couple of times he's been on the 4th row of the grid, but down there in the 5th row it's just going to be really difficult for him. But he can make the progress in race 1. The big challenge for him is to see what happens in tomorrow's Superpole race more than anything else. But Alvaro just keeps leaving himself with too much work to do after the Superpole sessions.
Obviously circumstances behind that. Bautista did have technical problems earlier on in the day.
Yeah, in the warm-up session this morning he had some issues, but overall you still have enough time to get your miles in to be able to understand what you have to do in the Superpole session. And he underperformed in the Superpole session. The yellow flags worked against him as well. There's always circumstances for it, but ultimately the only thing that matters is where you're going to line up on the grid.
Yes, and frankly his pace in free practice hasn't been sparkling either, so it might not be too straightforward for him to make his way through. Superpole race tomorrow morning is going to be particularly vital, but again it's a race weekend where Bautista leaves himself exposed in that battle for bronze. Let's take you through the grid then and some of the past form here in Manicourt, and where better to start than Toprak Razgat Lioglu. What a story it is for him to have put it on pole this weekend after suffering a terrifying crash at the French round last year that cost him 2 rounds through injury. I don't think that's going to be his abiding memory of this circuit though. Won his first Superbike races here in 2019 from 16th on the grid, passing Jonathan Rea in that final sector where he crashed then 12 months ago.
Yeah, he'll have a different French venue next year for MotoGP, but he's going to miss this place because this is one of the places where it just suits his style down to the ground, and that's where it becomes important in this race to see if anyone's able to fight right from the start.
Manicourt, one of only 4 venues last year where Nicolo Bulaga was a race winner, and one of only 2 where he managed more than 1 win. Superpole race and race 2 of the 2024 French round, of course in the absence of Toprak. Also won both of the Supersport races here in 2023, so hasn't been a bad venue for Bulaga in the past, and he has been optimistic in the build-up that he can compete with Toprak here.
Yeah, he said all the way through this weekend that he thinks that Ducati's going to have that opportunity. He broke the lap record in yesterday's practice session.
Sam Lowes, 3 podium finishes and also 3 retirements, 2 of them from podium positions at the last 2 rounds, leaving him an isolated 6th in the championship. He has been in the top 6 at least once at every track we've visited this season, and as we've said, a podium finisher at the last 2 rounds. Next target, his first World SBK victory.
Yeah, it has to be for Sam, and we've seen that consistency over a single lap this season. We've seen it where he's been able to have a very strong season overall, and now he just wants to have that opportunity to fight for podiums and before the end of the season try and challenge for a race win.
So that's the front row of the grid. Toprak, Razgatlioglu, Nicolo Bulaga and Sam Lowes. Second row of the grid, Alex Lowes. The 2 of them went out together at one stage during Superpole earlier on. Andre Iannone and Jari Montella. This is Toprak Razgatlioglu receiving yet another Tissot watch and a pole position for him, racking up with 5 now in this 2025 campaign, with the advantage over Nicolo Bulaga, who's had 3. Of course, Sam Lowes, the other rider to have been on pole in the 9 rounds this season so far. On to Alex Lowes then, 6 times podium finisher here in Manicourt. He was second in the Superpole race here last season. A 24-point score, including a 2nd place at the Emilia-Romagna round, is his best on the Bimota thus far. 2 6th places at Balaton Park last time out.
Yeah, another strong Superpole performance from Lowes, and we know on the Bimota, if he's able to qualify well, he'll give himself the chances during the race conditions. The first lap becomes critical for him, trying to put himself in a position to fight out for a top 5.
Andre Iannone, 5th on the grid. His best Superpole result since a front row start at Phillip Island back in February. That's also the last time he managed a podium. Scoreless in Most and Misano. Crashed out of the visit to Balaton Park with only 3 points on the board. 40% of his points haul dates back to that Australian round.
Yeah, and the one thing for Iannone is 22nd fastest through the speed trap in the Superpole session. Are the Go 11 team going to be able to find something to help him a little bit on the straight down in towards turn 5 in this race?
Jari Montella with his first second row start, putting him right in the thick of the action here. Race 2 winner here at Manicourt in Supersport last year, remember. He has already had top 10 finishes in more than a third of the races this season, including both of the feature-length races at the Hungarian round for a 15-point score.
Montella was very good in that final sector in the Superpole session as well. That could set up some moves into turn 15 for him during the course of this race. That's where he was able to make most of his lap time, really. So impressive from him on the second row of the grid.
Outqualifies his teammate Danilo Petrucci as well, who's currently 3rd in the World Championship standings. He lines up alongside Michael van der Mark and Remy Gardner on row 3. For van der Mark, this is his best grid position since Portimao in right at the 2nd round of the season. Scored 24 points at that Portuguese round. He's only scored 16 at the last 4 rounds put together. Well, it's time to hear the French national anthem. Dave Goddard, down to you on the grids.
Yes, thanks, Alex. I'm here with Alex Lowes, 2nd row of the grid. Alex, a circuit where you always shine, the strong Superpole, you must be feeling confident.
Yeah, I feel quite good. I've been enjoying the motor here at Manicourt. Qualifying was good. My brother helped me a bit, so that was nice. I think we're going to have a good race today. It's a long race, but my pace feels all right, and I'm looking forward to it.
Great stuff. Best of luck. Thanks for your time.
Cheers, mate.
Yes, Alex Lowes will be lining up 4th on the grid, so as I said previously, directly behind his brother in terms of position, and Alex 6th in the World Championship standings. This is a first season of Bimota's new project, but he's already been 4th in Most, podium Misano, 2 laps led at Donington Park, 20 points, as we've said, at Balaton Park. So real signs of progress before the summer break for Alex Lowes. We'll see what he can now do in the final third of this season. Back to the 3rd row of of the grid then. This is Danilo Petrucci. He will be starting from P7. And only one podium finish in the last 8 races for Petrucci, but still has a 16-point lead over last year's world number 3 Alvaro Bautista in this year's battle for bronze, and should be another good battle between them this weekend. They were 2nd and 3rd in race 1 here a year ago. Petrucci ultimately top scorer at the 2024 French round, the only rider to make all 3 podiums here last year, 2 third places and a 2nd. Remy Gardner suffered a concussion and bruising to his back that ruled him out on Sunday at the Hungarian round. Last 3 rounds haven't really gone to plan for Gardner. He's down to 13th in the championship, but rides knowing his future is assured, having signed another 2-year contract with Yamaha announced at Balaton Park.
Yeah, and for Remy, obviously we've seen some good moments through the course of the season, and last time out was the low marks as well. But for Remy, at least able to qualify in the 3rd row of the grid, leading Yamaha, good effort in the Superpole session. Axel
Bassani, double podium finisher here at Magny-Cours in 2022. 3 top 10 finishes at the Hungarian round last time out, and his best score yet with Bermosa, 17 points, and all from 20th place in Superpole there. So we know he can make progress in race conditions, and now he starts a little closer to the front, hoping to make use of it this time, unlike in Misano. Xavi Vierge picked up 22 points at the Hungarian round, and his first top 5 finish since Cremona. Did make the top 5 here in the Superpole race last year too. 23 points from the 2024 French round was his best weekend of the season, looking for another strong performance here as he fights for his future.
Yeah, he really does. It looks like Chantra might well be the Honda rider next year, Oliveira potentially a BMW rider, so those 2 berths that it looked like he had half a chance to being able to be on for next year look like they're going to be filled. So for Xavi, despite being a pretty solid superbike rider over the last few years, he's chasing a ride for next year.
Dominic Egerton missed the 2024 French round with a right shoulder injury sustained in a training accident. 6th in the 2023 Superpole race, his best at this venue. He's 2 points ahead of teammate Remy Gardner in 2025. That's rather gone under the radar because of his bad results in Cremona, Most and Misano. Jonathan Rea, 21 podiums, including 9 wins from 33 starts here in Magny-Cours, but his last victory here was in 2021. Crashed out of the 2024 French round with a thumb injury and has qualified down the order here in 2025. Only once has he qualified on the front 3 rows of the grid this season.
Yeah, and for Johnny, they're on the 5th row of the grid, only a few tenths off being on that 3rd row. Again, just gives you that indication of how close it is in World SBK at the moment.
The farewell tour has already begun. Jonathan Rea said in his press conference at the start of the weekend that undoubtedly his career rival has been this man, Chaz Davies.
Yeah, and certainly whenever you look at what both of them have been able to achieve, they forced each other to raise their game consistently, and both were thankful of the other at the end of their careers.
Yeah,
I'm not too sure during their careers they were too thankful.
A lot more friendly with one another now than they have been previously, that's for sure. This is Alvaro Bautista, 5 podiums to his name here in Magny-Cours. The latest as runner-up to Michael van der Mark in wet conditions last season before suffering a broken rib in a Superpole race crash. Here surpasses Carl Fogarty, 4th in Ducati's all-time appearance records, his 168th race start for the manufacturer.
Yeah, and for Alvaro, you can see from the 5th row of the grid just how difficult it's going to be for him, but he needs to make sure he's able to make progress, score some points. He's up against it with Petrucci for that scrap for 3rd in the World Championship, but he'll certainly want to beat the rider that he's going to move in to replace next season.
Yes, signed to replace Danilo Petrucci at Barni Ducati for 2026, so it will be a 6th season with Ducati, but his first on an independent bike. And of course, a new model coming next season, so Bautista will be hoping that reverses his downturn. World champion in 2022 and 23, only 3rd last season, currently 5th in the standings this year, albeit with a strong chance of taking another bronze medal.
Yeah, and certainly on the basis of pure pace, he should be able to be the rider that takes that 3rd in the standings. But when you're up against Locatelli and his consistency over the course of the season, Petrucci and the fact that he doesn't make too many mistakes, those mistakes and crashes add up for Bautista.
Completing 5th row of the grid is Taz McKenzie. Remember, made a mid-season switch, missed the UK round and has moved to Bonovo to replace Scott Redding. 9 points scored last time out at the Hungarian round. Strong Sunday with an 8th in the Superpole race and 11th in race 2. 50 starts now under his belt. On we go to the 6th row of the grid with Ryan Vickers, Michael Ruben Rinaldi and Sergio Garcia. for Ryan Vickers. He too has managed to score well in the most recent rounds. 8 points in Misano, 9 points at Donington Park, and a few in Hungary from the Superpole race. 2 retirements, though, costing him there.
Yeah, and he had the speed in Hungary for a decent weekend and good haul of points. Just the long lap penalty and the crash into the long lap loop was costly for him. But at least over the last 3 rounds, Vickers been able to make a bit of a step forward with that Moto Corsa bike. And he needs to. He's under pressure now. There's a bit of rumour around the paddock that the team might opt for a rider like Federico Caricasulo next year. So despite Vickers having that contract, he knows that he has to perform.
Less than 5 minutes now until your race start. Let's head down to the grid again with Dave Goddard.
Yes, I'm down here on the grid at BMW with Sven Bluch there, head of motorsports. Sven, things looking up for the team so far. Despite Toprak's crash last year, his confidence seems to be up. A good Superpole, things looking very positive.
I think he's stronger than ever. Yeah, he's really completely focused, and we're looking to a good race, I think.
Great stuff. Thanks a lot for your time.
Thank you.
So we're looking at Toprak Razgatlioglu here. 9 race victories at this circuit in Magny-Cours for Jonathan Rea. 8 for Razgatlioglu. Opportunity to equal him here. And it is a bit of a farewell tour for both riders. Jonathan Rea heading towards retirement. Toprak Razgatlioglu heading on to MotoGP. And Toprak was talking about it at the end of the weekend at Donington Park, saying farewell to one of his favourite circuits. This is another kind of farewell here as we move on through the 6th row of the grid. This is Michael Ruben Rinaldi. He will be starting from 17th position. 2 points at each of his 3 rounds so far since his return to the Superbike class. His first 3 rounds on Yamaha machinery, and it's been every bit as tough for him as his short stint in Supersport was as well. 2 key riders starting at the back of the grid. Andrea Locatelli, who has outscored both Petrucci and Bautista at each of the last 2 rounds, up in 4th in the championship and only 15 points from 3rd, but now up against it this weekend after his Superpole crash. And the problem for him has been that the other 2 are much more frequent podium finishers, so big points lost here could be hard to recover for him. Back on the 14th of June, after the first victory in a 3-round unbeaten streak, Toprak was 26 points behind Bulliger. After 9 consecutive race wins, he now leads by 26. It has been a remarkable turnaround for Razgatlioglu, who had left Phillip Island trailing after wasting 20 points on a scoreless Sunday there. Those have been his only non-scores this season. Nicolo Bulliger, though, has had 4 non-scores, 33 points lost in Assen to mechanical failures, 24 conceded to Toprak in 2 scoreless Superpole races, and ultimately without that misfortune, the pair would now be neck and neck on points. Alex Raby and Steve English for race 1 of the 2025 French round. Trips to Aragon, Estoril and Jerez still to come. All venues where Bulliger and Ducati should go well, but he already has plenty of points to recover and he cannot afford to lose more at one of Toprak's favourite tracks here in Magny-Cours.
All venues Ducati should go well, all venues we know Toprak will go well, and that's the big challenge for Bulliger now moving into these last 4 rounds of the year. We're into the business end of the World SBK season. Toprak holds that advantage. He's your very clear championship favourite going into these final 4 rounds of the year. Into this race, 21 laps. Toprak did a long run yesterday. His pace and consistency, that was enough to worry Ducati. He's got the experience under his belt for what to expect in this race. That's going to help him a lot. Just looking at the tyre sheets, everyone's out there on the same rear tyres. For Toprak, he's using the harder front tyre compared to the rivals at the front.
Quick word on previous winners here in Magny-Cours. As I touched on the grid there, Toprak Razgatlioglu has the chance to equal Jonathan Rea's record of 9 Magny-Cours wins, recorded between 2015 and 2021 on the Kawasaki. 2 other Magny-Cours winners in the field. Alvaro Bautista took 1 in each of his title-winning seasons, race 1 here in 2022 and race 2 in 2023. And Michael van der Mark capitalised on wet conditions to win race 1 here last year. But it's Razgatlioglu who is the man to beat today. Took 2 wins here in each of the 2019, 2021, 2022 and 23 seasons. Now he's chasing his first French round hat-trick.
And he's made it clear, obviously, all the way through the weekend, Toprak, as ever, saying that the only thing he's thinking about is winning all 3 races. And he said after yesterday's practice session that he felt very comfortable on the bike. He needs to make a few changes to it. They made those changes this morning. He smashed the lap record in the Superpole session. But having that long run yesterday means that he knows that the tyre drop shouldn't be too significant. Track temperature right now in and around that 33, 34 degrees. So about ideal for the Pirelli tyres.
Start to this race really important for Bulliger. Didn't have the best of getaways last time out in Peloton Park.
Short run in towards turn one. We tend to see a lot of times from those middle of the grid positions that it actually helps you off the line. We have already seen it in the races in the 300 class in the WCR so far today. So for Bulliger, he needs to hit the front and he needs to hit it right from the start.
Toprak Razgatlioglu, championship leader by a 26-point margin over Nicolo Bulliger. The two of them on the front row together. The one man who's been able to match their pace, who's a little bit of an outsider here. Sam Lowe starts from third on the grid. He's currently 6th in the World Championship standings. 21 laps ahead of us. Race 1 of the 2025 French round from Magny-Cours gets underway. Not a good start for Sam Lowe. Alex Lowe's his brother on the Motor, already up and alongside him as they make their way into the Grand Corps for the first time. Nicolo Bulliger slightly out of position. Alex Lowe comes through on him as well and up into second place. So Razgatlioglu split from his championship rival by Alex Lowe in second position. Bulliger third, trying to get back on terms. Sam Lowe under some pressure from Andrea Iannone. Good start there by Michael van der Mark. He's up and alongside the yellow Go 11 bike and moving through now into 5th position. Heavy braking zone into the Adelaide hairpin for the first time. Toprak Razgatlioglu moves across to the outside. Door left open by Nicolo Bulliger. He goes side by side with Alex Lowe, who does finally consolidate that second place, and an opportunity on the exit for Sam Lowe as well to pull alongside Bulliger and through for third place. And it's the worst possible start for Nicolo Bulliger. I said it at the top of the programme, Bulliger is going to be under pressure in the early stages.